Welcome back. Hopefully, everyone here was able to pay attention during the introductory portion. Again, we are recording this session for our ability to be able to put on our YouTube channel. So if there's someone who is watching this via YouTube, if you have not seen the introductory portion of our machine vision workshop, I encourage you to take a look at it. But we are going to be moving forward into the actual lab exercises. And what we're going to do is actually start working with the software in order to be able to put tools down, show how the Insight EasyBuilder software performs, and how we can be able to work with it to solve different issues. If anybody has questions, is just joining us, or just came online, if you have questions, please post them to the group chat room. I do have it open and I'm watching it. So as questions come in, I will address them as we go. And I'll also open up time at the end of this section. We'll do a changeover between each lab exercise in order to be able to answer questions and keep everybody up to speed. If you have downloaded the software to be able to follow along, I'm going to try and go at a pace where you can follow with me. If it's something that you get lost on, this video will get posted on the YouTube channel for you to rewatch, or you can reach out to us at info@acs-ga.com. Let us know what you have trouble with, and we can set up a dedicated one-on-one web meeting with you. All right, so it looks like we're good to go. So in order to begin, we're going to be working with the EasyBuilder software with the IS-2000 interface. Now, the IS-2000 is a camera series from Cognex that they refer to more of a vision sensor. It does more base level inspections, simple pattern matching, simple presence absence, but typically also carries a lower cost than the full featured vision systems. For those applications where you're just needing to do basic inspections, and you're needing to do it in a cost-effective manner. So great product to be able to work with that. So we're going to be working with the actual Insight software. So I'm going to bring my software onto the screen. If someone could just shoot me a quick message back into the chat room just to let me know that my screen is coming through all right and everybody can see my Insight software up on the screen right now, I would appreciate it. Anybody at all?
Kale, this is Dave. You can see it fine.
Awesome. Thank you, Dave. Okay, so what we're going to get started with the Insight software. If you received the link and you downloaded the software and you've now opened it up and this is your first time working with it, you're probably seeing a large gray screen rather than the detailed screen that I have in front of me. The reason behind that is you do have to engage the offline emulator. So what that is the ability to work with a particular camera profile and a series of saved images to be able to solve your problems without necessarily having to have a live camera there on site. You would have to have a live camera to record the images, or if you send us the parts, we can set it up in our lab, record the images, email them to you, and then you would be able to run them through your emulator to be able to do your own testing. So if you're looking at the software or you're going to install this on your own, you're welcome to install the software on as many computers as you would like. There is not a license fee associated with it, but you will have to get the emulator key. So the first thing I'm going to do is just walk you through that process right quick. So if you're looking at the large gray screen, or you just want to be able to know how to do this to help someone else get online, if you'll come up here at the top to the word system, then you're going to choose the word options at the bottom. And under the options, you're going to see the options for the emulation. Now, this is where we're going to actually turn the emulator on. So if you look under the emulation, you'll have two numbers here. One is this programming reference number. And if this is a new installation where you're seeing the big gray screen, you'll see a series of 7 zeros in this particular field instead of the number that I have associated here. This is that offline programming key we're going to need to get. So what I would have you do is highlight, using your mouse, your reference number, and you can right click and hit copy. So now I've copied it to my clipboard. Now if I actually hit the help button, it will take me to the Cognex website for the Insight key generator. So we have to actually get the key from there, but it does require a My Cognex account in order to be able to get to it. If you do not have a My Cognex account, you would need to create one. I happen to already have a My Cognex account, so I can go ahead and put that in here. All right, so once I log into the My Cognex account, it has brought me right to the key generator. The reason it did that is because I used the login from the help file link. So if I had just logged in straight to the My Cognex login page, it would bring you to your profile. So you can see I uploaded my headshot here. It tells me how to get started registering a product. It would show me a list of any request tickets that I had, the case number associated with. I had a problem. In this case, I needed to do a Profinet job change and triggering issue. So I opened up a support ticket with Cognex support. They were able to get me the help that I needed, and then it got closed out. So you see here, I've got a history of my support requests, as well as recommended training materials and how to contact Cognex for additional information. So I highly encourage you to set up a My Cognex account. Specifically though, we're talking right now about the key generator. So with the key generator, I'm just going to put in my company name. I don't have to put in my email address or anything else at this point. And then I'm going to right click and paste my programming reference number. This is the number I got out of the Insight software. I can now hit generate key, and it now gives me my Insight programming key. So this is my actual programming key I want to highlight, right click and copy. And then I'm going to come back to my Insight software, and I would paste it in this field right here. So I will let you know this reference number is randomly generated every time you open the emulation window. It comes out of an encrypted mathematical formula, so each reference number and key matches. Now, once you have a programming key entered, then it locks this number in place consistently. You only need to do this one time. So the first time you install Insight, you have to get the key. If a new version of the software comes out and you install it, it automatically pipes this number over from the previous installation. So you only have to do this the first time you install it. But once you put it in, if you'll see here, I'm going to delete this and I'm going to paste the number. And if you notice, it was the same number that was there because my reference number was the same. Then I can hit my apply button. It puts it in place. Now, since I was already active in the emulator, I didn't get any pop-up messages. For any of you who are doing this live with me as you're following along on your own software, you will get a message that says your emulator is now active. Please close Insight Explorer and reopen it for changes to take effect. So what you need to do is once you hit OK and you get that pop-up message, close the software and reopen it. Then when you reopen it, you will get the rest of the screens associated with what we're working on. So a quick layout to the software. So on the left-hand side, you see we have the application steps. This is the EasyBuilder interface. And we're going to start up here at the first step, get connected, and we're just going to work our way to the bottom to be able to build a complete job. On the right-hand side, this is our interactive palette. We're going to have a series of tools that we're going to lay down. We have our help window, which is dynamic. As I change from one section to the next, my help file is going to change with me based off of where I'm at. I could see the status of my I/O if I was hooked to a live camera. So this becomes really helpful as I go to build my job. So I'm going to start up here in the Get Connected section. At the bottom of the screen you see here, on the left-hand side, this is typically where we're going to get our list of choices that we can select from. our series of commands of what we can then do, and our results from those selections. This is typically how that bottom bar lays out, and that'll become more evident as we start working with the tools. Then in the middle of the screen, we have our film strip. Now our film strip, we can either highlight the sensor, meaning the images that might be saved on a live camera. In our case, since we're working in emulators, I am myself as well, we want to work on images that are from the PC because we're going to be working with it from the computer. So if the film strip is not visible, if I come under View, Film Strip, in my case, I just turned it off, so now I can see a larger image of the part I'm working with. Or I can turn the film strip back on, and now I can work through my series of images from one to the next. Now you notice something. I've just clicked on my first image of the series, but my screen is full white. Well, in setup for our class today, what I have in my film strip currently is a higher resolution image than what my emulator is currently set to. So my emulator is set to PC host. If this is the first installation for you, it probably says the same thing. This is a 640 by 480 image. The image I have here is higher res, so I am getting the image, but I'm only getting the very, very corner of it. I'm not getting the entire image to be able to work with. So I need to change what camera I'm interfacing with. And because the lab we're working on is for the IS-2000, we need to change to an IS-2000 emulator. So down here in the lower left-hand corner, I'm going to choose the button that says Emulator, and this is where I can choose what camera I want to work with. So if I look at my list, the camera I'd like for us to use this morning is the Insight 2000-130 in the 640 by 480 format. Please do not choose the color one, choose the regular one, and we'll hit OK. Changing the emulation mode is going to erase the data in my job. Do I want to save it? I'm going to say no, because I didn't have anything there. I had no tools set up at this point. It does take about 20 seconds to change from one emulator to the next. All right. I know my emulator is now loaded because now the model number that I'm reporting is my 2000-130. So I do know I have the correct emulator at this point. So now I need to get my images that I'm going to be working with. So I'm going to choose Setup Image, Load Images from the PC, and I get a pop-up window that looks like this. In my Playback tab, I am pointing to a folder called Emulator Images Gen 2. If you had downloaded the software that Kelsey sent, she would have sent this folder to you as well. I placed the folder on my desktop, and I'm going to choose Bolt House Mono. So this is a series of parts called Bolt House in a monochrome format. Once I hit OK, I will hit OK again. And now I have loaded the images into my emulator. So you can see Bolt House is Bolt House Farms. They make a series of bottled smoothies. This one happens to be called Amazing Mango. Well, you notice the part's on its side. The imaging chips are rectangular. So what we did was we oriented the camera on its side because my part is long and rectangular. By having the longest axis of my imaging chip in orientation with the height of my part, I'm able to fill up the field of view more to see more smaller details of the part. Had I set it up where the part was going against the narrow part of my imaging chip, I would have had to have been farther away, and I wouldn't have been able to see as many details. Well, it's a little confusing to work with the part on its side, so we can actually change that. If you come up here under the word sensor, then I can choose, and I just realized I went to the wrong one. I need image. I want to change the image, orientation. So I can rotate this clockwise 90 degrees, 180 degrees, but I need to go all the way around to 270 in order to get it to stand up. Now this looks like more what we would expect coming down a production line. So I'm going to quickly set up a job. If anyone gets lost, please check out on the YouTube channel and you can be able to go back through it. But the very first set of parts I'm going to choose is just a locate part tool. So this locate part, I want to be able to have a tool so as the part varies and moves a little left or right from one image to the next, I can track with it. So I'm just going to choose a basic pattern tool and I'm going to hit the add button. I get two windows on the screen. One is called my model window. My model window is the feature that I want to look for. So in all of these bottles that we're going to be working with, they all have Bolthouse Farms at the top. That's a very consistent pattern. The search box is where I want to search for it at. So I want my search box to be, Bolthouse Farms is not going to be at the bottom of the bottle, and it's not going to be all the way at the top, but it could be left and right. So I want to narrow my search box. Every one of these pixels has to be searched to find this pattern. The smaller the search area, the faster it's going to run. Now when I hit OK, you will notice that I have my pattern. This is my model, Bolthouse Farms, and a green crosshair saying I have found it. I can now go through my images using my Play Next button here on my film strip. So as I hit Play Next, my crosshairs moved with it. And you can see from one image to the next, my crosshairs are able to track the part left and right as we move from one to the next. We failed this one. We did not find Bolthouse Farms here. So I wonder what's going on with this. Let's take a look. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the part finding meter a little bit. And you'll notice that this one scored more like a 39. So this pattern is enough different than the others. I had to lower my acceptance to be able to find it. But now we've got all of them being found. All right, so I'm going to go back to the very beginning image and we're going to start working with this amazing mango. And I actually want to inspect for it. I want to make sure that several things are present. One is I want to inspect the part. So I'm going to go here to the next set of tools and I'm going to look for the pattern and hit add. And I want to look for the pattern that says amazing mango. Now in this particular case, I have a locate tool that's already telling me, hey, where is Bolthouse Farms? Now that I know where Bolthouse Farms is, I only need to look for the deviation of how far this amazing mango deviates from Bolthouse. I don't have to look over the entire field of view. I can get very small with my search window. And when I hit OK, you notice I'm now finding the amazing mango. And as I go through the images, it tracks with it. You'll notice in my tool palette, my pattern tool, my first one, is feeding data to my second one. Oh, well, this is starting to get confusing. I've got more than one tool that uses the word pattern in it. So I can actually name this pattern tool here, Amazing Mango, and it will actually change the name up here in my palette. So now I've got something that makes more sense. So up here for the first one, I'm going to use the word locate and pattern. So now I know this is my locate tool and I'm using a pattern tool to use. So we've got a variety of programmers that do like to include in the name what the tool is, just so when they go back to work with this later, they know what the tool was as they go to debug and work with the program. So now you notice as we move, Bolthouse Farm moves, Amazing Mango moves with it. This is interesting. So here's my Bolthouse Farms. We are now on a green goddess, but notice it's passing. It says this is enough like the other one to be considered the same thing. So if you notice, I put my cursor down here on my result. I've scored 50.96 on the result, and my threshold is at 50. It's just barely over. So I need to raise my threshold. In this case, I'm going to raise it to 60. It has to be at least a 60% match. And now my tool fails. So this is the importance of testing and having a variety of good parts and bad parts to be able to look at as we set this up. So you notice as I go through, same thing with strawberry banana. I need to raise this up a little more. Daily greens. All the rest of them seem to be working correctly. And then when I go back to my amazing mango, I pass the way that I'm supposed to. And now when I go through my images, I'm failing the ones that I'm supposed to. So now I've got my tool dialed in. Let's say though that these bottles themselves also vary in color. They have different colors associated with it, and one of those colors is the cap. Well, what if we want to make sure that Amazing Mango has the correct color cap on it? Well, as I look through my images, here's this green goddess. Take a look at the cap. It's a dark gray. And I really can't tell for sure if this Amazing Mango is the same gray or a different gray. So there's really, I want to be able to take a look at it to see, can I tell the difference? Well, what I'd like you to do is in this lower left-hand corner of the image, right here, I'm going to put my cursor on it, and you'll notice in that lower left-hand corner at column 595, row 335, we have a grayscale of 60. That's what those numbers mean. If I go to my next image in and I go to the same cap, notice at 610-250, I have a grayscale of 55. So although to the human eye, we don't see a difference, the computer actually does. So let's use that to our advantage. So what I can do is under Inspect Part, I'm going to grab a pixel count tool. And what I'm looking to do is to count how many pixels I have of a certain color. So I'm going to hit Add, and I'm going to place this pixel count tool right up here on this cap and say OK. So now you notice I'm counting automatically. It set my thresholds to where I'm counting the pixels associated with Amazing Mango. And notice it's now tracking with my locate tool. And I'm just going to name this tool cap _ pixel. Now I know what it is. As I index in Amazing Mango, here's my green goddess. Notice it's still picking up a lot of my green goddess. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to look at my range that I have. I'm looking at pixels that are between 95 and 255. So as I slide my bar in to be able to consider what I'm going to count, notice as I lower it, the pixels are going away. As I increase it, they begin to add. So I can then lower this threshold to something that's going to be closer in scale. So let's come back here to my green goddess. I want to be able to get the threshold for this. Notice here though, my background is actually coming to the same side as my cap. So I may need to invert the polarity. No. All right, so I'm going to raise the threshold. I'm looking between these two. So I want only the cap. And I want to get this dialed in. So you notice I'm having a little bit of trouble getting this dialed in between the Bolthouse Farms and the Amazing Mango. Not Bolthouse, the Green Goddess and the Amazing Mango. Some of these other caps, let's just take a look at them, may be a little different. Oh, move the tool over. My locate tool didn't work on that one. I'm not able to tell the color difference between these. My pattern tool is working, but my color difference is not. So I need something to be able to pick up these colors. So what we can do with this is actually the next lab in our series. So our next lab happens to be associated with bottle cap inspection color. This is where we're actually going to work with a series of color images from a color camera. So in order to do this, we have to change two things. If we go back under Get Connected, Then I'm going to come under my emulator. And now I'm going to change the emulator I'm working with from the IS 2001-30. Now we're going to use the color version of this camera. I'm going to say OK. It's going to tell me I'm going to lose my data. That's what I like to save it. No, I don't. We'll take about 15 seconds to be able to change over, and now it will bring in those attributes associated with a color version of this camera. So I can now work off a set of color images. And I think we're going to be able to find out that this pixel count tool is going to be able to perform a lot better for us, and we're going to be able to pick up those color differences between the bottles more easily. While this is loading, I'm just going to remind everybody, if there's any questions that come up, please throw it to the public chat room. I'm still keeping an eye on it. All right, so now my model number says 2000-130C. So we've loaded the color version. So now I need to load in a set of images that are also color. So if I go under Setup Image, Load Images from the PC, I'm now going to choose a set of, whoops, I hit the button here that says the 3 periods, and I'm going to choose Bolthouse Color and say OK. So now I have my color images. So now I'm going to take this, I'm going to come under Image and reorient it, just like we did before. So now they're standing up. So these bottles are now in a different order. So here's our strawberry banana, red. Here's that green goddess. This is the one we were working with earlier. You notice we have a nice green color, a darker green. And here's our amazing mango. This amazing mango is in orange. Well, this is the cap we were looking for. So let's look for it again. So I'm going to start just like we did before, locate part. And I'm going to grab my pattern tool and I'm going to put it right on the Bolthouse Farms, just like we did before. And I'm going to say that this Bolthouse Farms can vary anywhere within this smaller region of the image, and say OK. So now we have our locate tool that has locked on. Ooh, it did not lock on. Oh, I know why it locked on. So here's a good one. Notice I put my search region, I went off the edge of my field of view a little bit. So I need to make sure it's sized that I don't go off the edge, because there's no data on the edge. It's almost like putting it into a mode where you're divide by 0, because there's no data there for the computer to work with. All right, so now I've got my locate tool working. I'm going to come under inspect part, and I'm going to grab my color pixel count tool. So my color pixel count tool, I'm going to put up here on my cap, and I'm going to say OK. And oh, the tool didn't work. Well, why didn't the tool work? Let's see. Well, I have this button down here called Train Colors. Oh, I need to train it. What color am I looking for? So I'm going to hit this button that says Train Color, and I get 2 icons down here. One is an eyedropper with a plus and an eyedropper with a minus. So this allows me to add a color to the tool or take a color away. So if I hit Add, I can now use this eyedropper and add this part of the cap. Now I can add this part, and I can just start to fill in the cap to make sure that I get all the pixels, or the majority of the ones associated with it. So I can keep adding all these variations to say those are the colors that I want. If you notice though, it picked up some of the color, some of the lower portion. If I hit my eyedrop minus, I can now choose this pixel and remove these colors out of it. So I can say I don't want those. I need to be careful though, because now I start to lose some of the colors I actually do want. So it takes a little bit of experimentation just to get the right balance between the two. So I'm just going to add this corner back into it. All right, so I picked up a little of my cap, or my lower portion, but I got my cap in correctly. Then I'm going to say finish my color selection. So now I've got my color selection done. I'm passing. So let's see how this works. If I compare my amazing mango now to remember my previous one, the green goddess. Now the green goddess is failing just like we want it to. So I'm going to take this color pixel count, and I'm going to call this mango. Then I'm going to add another color pixel tool, also on the cap. And I'm going to go through the same process, but I'm going to do it a little quicker this time. I'm going to train my color with my eyedropper, and I'm going to pick up the greens associated with it. So now I have quickly built my green tools here. So I'm going to call this green because that is part of the name. Now my green cap is passing. But if I come back over here to my amazing mango, my mango tool is passing and my green is failing. So this is a real key difference. Although we can see the grayscale difference, which works very well in some instances to be able to discern one color from the next. There are sometimes you just need that color camera to be able to get the color differences between them. And this is a great case on how we were able to do that. So real basic, real quick, that's the basics on the Insight 2000 vision sensor within the EasyBuilder environment. Any last minute questions on this before we change type of cameras? No? All right.